Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Icing on the Skate podcast. Sorry about last week, guys. We're back again. I've returned. Chris is here as always. Hi,
Hello.
Chris. How's it going,
Hello.
Chris?
Yeah, not too bad at all.
Good. So yeah, I'm back from Ireland, back from Dublin, the land of drunken mistakes.
Yeah, he's only
And
just got over the hangover.
yeah, and drunken mistakes and memory loss. Two of the key attributes to a trip to Ireland. So I'm back. Hello, how's it going? So yeah, we missed last week's Icing on the Skate podcast. There isn't a huge amount to talk about that happened last week, but we've got enough to talk about this week from the things that took place in the Elite League, the EIHL, and a bit of everything in between, to be honest. So, Chris Gadsby, my man, take us through all the scores that took place in the Elite Ice Hockey League this past week.
We're just going to do this week, yeah?
Yeah, just do this week. Otherwise,
Yep.
we'll be here for ages.
Yeah, okay, so that goes from the 14th. So we'll start
Yeah.
just in the Elite League. Wednesday evening, the Sheffield Steelers 4, the Fife Flyers 1. Then on Saturday, 4 games, the Manchester Storm beat the Belfast Giants 4-3 in a shootout. The Dundee Stars lost to the Coventry Blaze by 2-1. The Nottingham Panthers won a game
Oh my god!
away at Cardiff by
Right.
2-1. And then the Guildford Flames won in overtime away at the Five Flyers by 3-2. A full programme of games on Sunday. It was the Steelers 4, Stars 2, Panthers 3, Devils 5, Giants 3, Storm 1, the Clans 6, the Blaze 8.
Oh.
And Flames 1, Flyers 2. In the Challenge Cup, because we did have Challenge Cup fixtures, everybody's favourite competition.
Yeah.
Well, I say we had fixtures. We had one fixture on
Yeah.
Friday night where the Manchester Storm beat the Sheffield Steelers by 6-2 and basically threw Group C wide open.
So
Interesting, when I was talking to Tim Wallace on Radio Nottingham last night,
Okay.
I asked him about the Challenge Cup and if it was difficult for players to get motivated for a game where even if you come bottom of the group, you've got a play-in fixture.
Yeah.
And he said that, yeah, it was an interesting one because he wasn't really sure.
Right. Okay.
But he wanted them to... It was a professional hockey game. He wants them to go out and play it professionally.
Of course.
But
I mean, that's what they're being paid to do, right?
Yeah, but I could sense that he was there thinking, yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Like, is it difficult for them to...
No, of course. Yeah. Is it difficult to get a team motivated, like you said? Because we've talked about the Challenge Cup like a million times on this podcast, and
Yeah,
every
I
single
want to
time we
not
sit
talk
there and look
about
at
it
it.
again until we know some of the
No,
rankings.
please no, because otherwise I will get really confused once again. Let's not do that.
No, when we get to, I think it's at the end of the month,
Okay.
because there's only into November. There are only 3 games in November. So once we get to the end of October, it will pretty much be there or thereabouts, and I'll be able to give you scenarios.
Perfect. You know what? That's exactly what I want. That's why you're here, Chris. You know,
Is it?
to give me the information and then for me to laugh at it. All right. So, do you want to just take us through the standings where we sit
Yes,
as of
I
right
will.
now?
So I won't bother with the cup because there was only one game,
Yeah, nobody cares.
and it hasn't actually changed any positions, so
No surprise.
I'm not bothering. Right, so top of the table at the moment are the Sheffield Steelers.
Oh my.
10 games played, 14 points. So they have played more than anybody else. Well, the ones that are around them and that can catch
Yeah.
them anyway. So their points percentage is not quite as high as some of the others, but they're top of the league, 14 points.
Pretty good.
Second, still going well, the Glasgow Clan.
Yep.
They're on 12 points from their 8 games. I think if I remember rightly, their streak came to an end, didn't it? Yes, at the hands of
Yes.
Coventry.
Yeah, they lost yesterday, didn't they?
Yeah,
In
by
a
8
game
goals
where
to
the
6.
defenseman, I think, skipped the buses to get to the game. Oh, so many goals. Oh.
Yeah, but at least if you're going to end your winning streak, you want it in a game like that. Where
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
end to end
6
to-
goals in any other game would have been enough to keep that streak going. But
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. You've got me wanting to get. There's been a couple of sevens, but yeah.
Yeah,
In third, the Cardiff Devils also on 12 points. They've also played their 8 games as well. So the Glasgow Clan at the moment on merit higher than the Cardiff Devils
only just
by
though. So
by
yeah,
way of their scoring 4 more goals.
yeah.
The Five Flies are in fourth on 11. The Coventry Blaze are in fifth on 10. The Belfast Giants are in sixth on 8, but they have played way fewer games than anybody else. And if they win all their games in hand, they'll go top.
Yep.
The Guildford Flames are in seventh, 8 points. The Nottingham Panthers are just about in the playoff places at the moment on 7 points. The Manchester Storm just outside on 6, and the Dundee Stars on 5, rounding out the table.
So once again, we're starting to see the gap opening.
Yeah.
We mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but now even more so. 9 points between first and last, and bearing in mind both first and last have played 10 games. So there's no games in between for the first and bottom team in the league at the moment. The Nottingham Panthers not doing very well. We're going to go into them in a lot more detail a little bit later on in the show. So yeah, like Chris mentioned, Sheffield taking the top spot. They have scored a nice chunk of goals already this season. 47 goals on the season.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive so far for the Steelers, considering they had their very sort of turbulent year last year. Lots of struggles, lots of problems going on there. It's not been the best start to the season for them, but they seem to be finding their stride.
That's just in the league as well, it's worth pointing out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, when you look at their results, so they had that 10-3 victory over Fife.
Yeah.
Then 6-3 against Dundee, 6-5 against Dundee. So they have no problem in scoring goals. Absolutely no problem at all. I don't know who their top scorer is off the top of my head. I'll have a look.
It's Valorant.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, who's also leading the Elite League in points. I think he's got 18 points in 10 games off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, more than that. Oh, this is including Challenge Cup, sorry.
According to the league, he's got 18. 8 goals, 10 assists. Oh, so it'll be interesting to know.
In total, it's 9 goals, 16 assists.
Right, so
that's
in terms
25.
of the top points in the league, like just the league itself, Valorant is first, John Armstrong is second, Ben O'Connor is third, Robert Dowd is fourth. So of the 5 top scorers in the league at the moment, 4 of them are Sheffield Steelers.
Yeah. So they've got what was the 4th place total? What's
11?
Dowd? What's he on? 11.
Tied with Joey Haddad.
Yeah, but if you look at that, I mean, I'm just looking through. I know we're going to go into the Panthers in detail, but I'm looking through to see their points totals. And
Hare would be
Sam
the only
Hare's
guy
on
that
16
has,
in total.
Yeah.
But it's him and George Golovkov's. They're the only ones in double digits.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that's including
good.
Challenge Cup.
That's not good. That's really, really bad.
That is including the Challenge Cup. Bearing in mind, 3 of Golovkov's points are the Challenge Cup, so he's really only on 7.
Right. Okay.
And Hare has 6 points in the Challenge Cup.
12 points in league.
Because
you said he had 16 points, yeah?
Yeah, 16 points, and he's got 6 of them in the Challenge Cup.
10 points
10
then. Okay, my bad,
if you're talking league, only Sam Hare has double digits for the Panthers.
That's crazy, and shows how difficult the start of the season has been for the Nottingham Panthers. But like we said, we're going to get into more detail on that for our play under review today. Let's go through some of the other Elite League stuff we have to go through, some of the news. Nothing too crazy taking place this week in the Elite League, but we did get a visit from the Department of Player Safety.
Everybody's favourite.
So, first suspension of this week. Well, it took place on the 15th of October, just so you know. Goes to Manchester Storm defenseman Dallas Earnhardt. He was suspended for 2 games due to a abuse of an official call and a hooking call. So the incident occurred on Saturday, the 12th of October, involving the Manchester Storm, number 10 Dallas Earnhardt, during their game against the Coventry Blaze. and he was deemed abuse of an official, which is interesting. So the key references were abuse of an official, puck shot in the direction of a referee, threatening gesture, and Category 1 abuse of an official. Chris, have you managed to watch the Department
I'm
of Player
doing
Safety
it
video?
now.
Okay, so I've
I
watched
literally-
it. I'm not quite sure what I think about this one. Sure, Earhart did shoot the puck in the direction of the referee. Was he aiming for the referee? I don't think so. Then again, I don't think I'll ever know. So, I'm not quite sure. Because they also say it's due for hooking as well, but they haven't put anything that's in referencing to hooking, unless he hooked the official afterwards.
The hooking is just a minor penalty.
Right, okay.
I've just watched it. The hooking is just a minor penalty, nothing in that. The problem is that he then shot the puck.
See, that's what I thought. But then in the Department of Player Safety video, they said the incident is hooking and game misconduct, abuse of official. Why not just say it's abuse of official, game misconduct? You know.
I'm guessing that's where the it's all part of why it happened. I think that's why it's.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. So, what are your thoughts on it, Chris? 2 game suspension, which I believe he's served now. Is that right?
Yes, he has. Yes.
Yeah, because he missed this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So definitely a hook. No doubt about that in the slightest.
Yeah.
The shooting the puck at the referee, he's quite lucky, I think. If it had hit the referee, he'd be out for a lot longer.
Yeah, it'd be out for what, 5 games at least?
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, because Manchester played 3 games this weekend, he missed Friday and Saturday and was back for Sunday. He didn't do anything on Sunday, but he was back.
Right.
And I think it's unnecessary because it's not a like a wrist shot chip as the players often do to give the puck back to the linesman. It's a full-on slap shot.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he does hit it hard. Like, there's no doubt about that. But then again, I'm questioning whether he was actually aiming at the official or he was just frustrated, so he hit the puck somewhere and it happened to be near the official, you know?
But he shouldn't be doing it at all.
No, I agree. But also, you've got to think, like, he's obviously been done for a penalty that he very clearly disagrees with. Whether, I mean, he obviously took the penalty, so that means nothing. But I'm under the impression that he more just slapped it against the boards to get out a bit of a frustration, as opposed to aiming for the official, you know?
What I'm finding, because I can't, obviously because I haven't got the sound on, because we're on here, but obviously the hooking call is a delayed penalty, and I can't see them then touch the puck, so the play is surely still live at that point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
From what I can see.
Now, yeah, that would make more sense then. Okay.
Unless, who's that? That's 21. Unless the referee has blown play dead when Zach Sullivan just kind of poked it back, if he deemed that was Manchester touching the puck. But
yeah,
I think.
So just before you carry on, I just want to mention, the reason they've given him between 1 to 3 games is because it was considered a threatening gesture towards the officials. Like, it doesn't matter whether the puck hit him or not. So I guess that does kind of make sense, the fact that it was a threatening gesture, and that's what prompted the Department of Player Safety to kind of be like, what's going on here, you know?
Well, we know that the Department of Player Safety, that's really what they're cracking down on safety, aren't they?
Absolutely.
That's their name.
Yeah.
They're cracking down on the safety side of things. So I'm wondering if this is, because I don't recall off the top of my head a similar sort of incident. So I'm wondering if they're trying to set a precedent.
I would imagine so. I can't think of many instances where players have been suspended for abuse of officials. The only one that might ring off the top of my head, we're talking like 2 seasons ago now, and that's before the whole Department of Player Safety was changed. So I think since the big overhaul of the Department of Player Safety, like a season and a half, 2 seasons ago, I don't think there's been many instances of this. Not that I can remember anyway. So Dallas Earhart suspended 2 games. That's what happens, I guess. You shoot the puck in a threatening way, towards the official, you get done for 2 games. I think, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, Chris, that's a good point. Set a precedent. We're not accepting this. We're not the elite league of 3 or 4 years ago, where players might take things into their own hands and feel like they can intimidate the officials a little bit. We're cracking down on this. We want to be seen as a legitimate league, so don't even
Yeah,
try it, kind of thing.
the other thing as well is that the referees, this is not their full-time job. So similar to when we were
Exactly.
talking about the National Ice Hockey League a couple of weeks ago and the player safety regarding that,
Yeah.
for something unnecessary, if that puck hits him and it was an unnecessary, slap
Yeah.
shot for no good reason and it puts him out of work, that's not just that game, it's
Yeah.
his livelihood.
And then there becomes the question of, will the league help cover the costs in order to,
and all of that,
like,
yeah.
medical stuff? So, yeah, no, I think, to be honest, I'm not quite sure whether 2 games, maybe 1 game, I don't know. I'm not the person that decides the Department of Player Safety calls. I think, yes, if they're trying to set a precedent, this is the best way to go about doing it. In this instance, I'm not quite sure it was worthy of a penalty, of a suspension, maybe a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. Make it a double minor. That might be a little bit better, but like you say, Chris, I think that's a good point. The Department of Player Safety might be going, look, we don't want this happening again. Let's nip it in the bud immediately.
I'll tell you what would be interesting is, maybe it was about a year or so ago, the NHL did that video of inside the video goal review room
Yes.
where they looked
yeah.
at all the angles. It would be interesting to have one of those types of videos, but with the Department of Player Safety, to see
like a
how they
behind-the-scenes
sit down and
documentary.
look at everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like a 30-minute video where...
How they sit down, look at them, look at different angles, look for precedents, and
That would be really
quite
interesting. Yeah, I'd watch that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many normal fans... We're not normal fans. So...
No, we're not. I mean, have you seen the video of Tom Darnell mic'd up?
I think I saw a little bit of it, yeah.
Because I've watched that about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, absolutely. I love watching the referees mic'd up in the NHL.
Oh, that's
They're
that's
so
good
entertaining.
fun. Where's Macaulay?
Yeah, Wes Macaulay is such an entertaining ref. So from one Department of Player Safety call to the second, this is the other call that was made literally yesterday. They were really quick on this one by the looks of it compared to most other calls. Jesse Forsberg of the Belfast Giants was suspended for 1 game due to slew-footing. So this is, I think, the 3rd instance of slew-footing we've had in the last 2 or 3 podcasts.
Yes, there's been a lot of slew-footing this year.
But once again, the Department of Player Safety is being incredibly consistent with it. Having watched the video, it was a slew-foot.
Yep.
And so effective immediately, Forsberg was suspended for 1 game, which I would imagine was the game yesterday against Manchester.
It was the game yesterday against Manchester, yeah.
Yeah, so the key references that were mentioned by the Department of Player Safety, it was a slew-foot, makes sense. There was a leg sweep from behind, the upper body was in front to create an opposite motion from the leg sweep, and it was Category 1 careless. So very much like the other slew-foots that we've had here. I assume you think this was the right call as well, Chris?
It was the right call. What I'd be annoyed at if I was the Belfast Giants was the fact that he'd just won a penalty.
Yeah.
Because he just won the penalty for the slash that Adam Hughesman made on him. So he had absolutely no need, because they were about to go on the power play, to do it. And then you can see him looking at him, and the foot comes across. It's a blatant slew foot. Again, I like the fact they're being consistent, but I would be very annoyed with Forsberg if I was the Giants.
Yeah, it's like the Department of Player Safety mentioned. It's careless. You didn't need to do it. It's just it's a dumb move, and that he's trying to use an illegal way to win the puck. You can't do that. That's not how it works. But just before we move on, Chris, the Department of Player Safety, I want to get your opinions on this before we move on from the subject. I'm quite happy with the job that they've done so far. What about you?
Yes, I'm very happy with the job they've done so far. I know in the past we've looked at it and gone, well, why is that one 3 games and that one's 1 game and that one's 2 games and that's not anything at all? I do like the consistency, I really do.
I've been very impressed with the consistency of the Department of Player Safety to start this season. I mean, we're almost 2 months into the season now, and there's been weeks where nobody's been suspended, which is great. there's been weeks where a handful of players have been suspended, which is also great because they're doing the job properly. I mean, do I think they're perfect? No, absolutely not, which is why we sit here and question the things that they do. That's what we're here to do. We're here to criticise and question. But I'm pretty impressed with the Department of Player Safety. Keep doing a good job, guys. I'm impressed. So we move from the Department of Player Safety to the only real player transaction news that took place recently, as far as I'm aware. There was one with the Sheffield Steelers a couple of weeks ago, but I feel like that was slightly old news. So let's move on to the only player signing of this week for the Nottingham Panthers. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, our last podcast, we mentioned that Jens Jacobs left the team. Who was the other player that left the team as well? It was
Alex Lozier.
Yeah, Lozier, that's what I thought.
He retired.
Yes, so the Panthers needed to find somebody else to join the roster, and they found the service of 30-year-old Jake Hansen, who some of you might remember having played for the Coventry Blaze last season for 23 games and scoring 25 points, but before injury started to hit him. He started this season in Slovakia with Zvolen, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and he got a goal in 5 games before switching over. He's an American forward. He has a pretty decent resume, 90 games in Finland, 46 in the DEL, and he was averaging over a point per game in Denmark. So that's pretty impressive. And his first weekend back in the Elite League, he got 2 points, a goal and an assist in the home and home against the Cardiff Devils. So, Chris, what do you think about Hansen joining the Nottingham Panthers?
Yes, obviously saw him last night, and then spoke to him. I don't know if you've watched the interview at all.
No, I didn't get the chance to. No.
Oh.
I'll listen to it after.
No, he comes across very well. Goal in his first period with the team, nice goal as well, and a nice assist yesterday. Slightly irritating that it was his penalty that Cardiff got a power play goal from yesterday after just 6 seconds.
Wow.
So not ideal, really. No. But he's settling into the side well. He's learning his line mates quickly. He only had one training session, short skate before those weekend games as well.
Oh wow, okay.
So he didn't have a lot of time to get to know his team and his line mates. But I was quite impressed. He was one of the better players in my opinion. I thought it was a much better performance from the Panthers, although judging by the fan reaction from the interview, wouldn't they disagree? I think he will do well once he's settled as well. Tim Wallace is fairly consistent with his lines. His lines move about a bit in the sense of the order that they're playing. But
you kind of question whether they need to do that.
Well, I'm assuming it's some kind of player freshness thing, because the first line would obviously have iced more on Saturday, so then he iced them less on Sunday.
But then again, surely the coach can just say which line he wants to roll out whenever he wants.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll come into that, because obviously this is all Panthers stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm conscious of repeating myself.
Yeah, fair.
But, I think he's got the potential. I think once the Panthers get going... No, I think once the other two came in, I mean, I read Guy Doucet's programme notes before the game on Sunday to see what he had to say, because they hyped it up, didn't they, there's a piece about the recruitment and everything.
Yeah.
And it's basically him saying, there were players we wanted, and then we didn't get them because other teams had them. So then they lost them. So now they're trying to look for... There are players out there that's on their list and are free, and they're trying to convince them that Nottingham is the place to come.
It's going to be a tough sell at the moment.
Well, I do think it's not going to be too long before more players come in.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think it's something I'll probably ask Tim about on Wednesday, should we not get absolutely hammered and there's more pressing questions.
Because there's only one free roster spot at the moment? Is that right? Because 2 left and 1's joined.
Yes,
yeah.
But...
and of course that's pending any other players leaving. So
yeah, so we still need that... They still need that player to come in, so...
Okay.
They're having a bit of a look, I think, because they've still got a free import slot. So
exactly, that's why so they have the they have the space to be able to bring in somebody straight away, and then if they want to bring in any other people, they need to cut people, don't they? So
Yeah.
okay, perfect. So that's the news about Jake Hansen joining the Nottingham Panthers. So we've gone through the Department of Player Safety. We've gone through the player transactions. Like we said, a pretty slow week for all of that stuff this week. Let's move on to the Icing on the Skate Players of the Week. So, for those of you who don't know how this works, it's our version of the Player of the Week.
Yeah, because we always seem to get
one.
ours out before the Elite League.
Yeah, so at least we're consistent with when we put them out, Elite League. I've decided we're not going to do the Elite League Players of the Week anymore, because they're so inconsistent when they actually put them out. Some weeks we'll have nobody to talk about, the next week we'll have 2 people to talk about. Let's just talk about our own. Ours are more interesting anyway, we pick funny ones.
Well, you have. I picked a serious one this week.
Well, see, we like to have a nice balance, you know.
We do.
1 week you'll pick a silly one and I'll pick a serious one. The next week we'll both pick silly ones. The week after we'll pick serious ones. You know, we like to keep it fresh and exciting for our viewers here. So, who went first last time, Chris? I can't remember. It's been 2 weeks.
I think it was me.
Okay, I'll
go
first
for
then.
it.
So,
Go for it.
my Icing on the Skate podcast player of the week for this week, or this week just gone, is the Belfast Giants forward, Bobby Farnham. Now, the reason I chose Bobby Farnham is because he scored a goal on the Saturday, which was great, and then he proceeded to go -1 and rack up 39 penalty minutes in Game 2 on Sunday. So 36. Yeah, so I thought, you know what, he's contributed offensively and he's got himself on the penalty list. It's kind of a win-win in terms of like serious and silly, you know? Why not? Scores a goal, helps his team out, then takes 36 penalty minutes. Perfect. Why not? So Bobby Farnham is my player of the week. You're welcome, bud. Chris, what about you?
You see, I don't get that because he, just after the half-hour mark, he had a 2+2 for elbowing and roughing.
Right.
And then with 20 seconds to go, with the game wrapped up, he takes a 2-minute for slashing, which was unnecessary because you've got the game wrapped up with 20 seconds to go.
Yeah.
And then a 10+20 for abusive official. What's the point with 20 seconds to go?
So it's abusive official. We might be seeing something from the Department of Player Safety then.
We may well be, yeah, but obviously because it was already... It was last night, so they haven't had a chance.
Yeah, of course. So I would imagine in the next lot, we'll probably see something for next podcast from the Department of Player Safety going, Farnham, no. Probably get 2 games again, actually. Like, if we're talking consistency, we'll probably see him get 2 games.
Probably.
So yeah, what about your player of the week then, Chris?
My player of the week is Glasgow Clan number 11, Matthew Haywood.
Oh, okay.
The centre. 2 goals and 2 assists on the weekend. The 3-1 victory at home to Belfast, and in that 8-6 loss to Coventry. So he had 2 goals, 2 assists, and 1 plus-minus over the weekend. So I went, with him, Matthew Haywood.
Perfect. There you go. So we had a serious and a silly choice. So now we move on to Chris's end of the week quiz.
Oh, yes.
Now, bearing in mind, I have been on holiday all week, so I haven't really been paying attention.
I wrote these about 20 minutes ago.
Perfect. Well, okay, this is going to go great.
Okay, right. This weekend. These are all Elite League, by the way. So
all Elite League. My player log is closed. I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at OBS. I'll put OBS up. There we go. Okay.
To be honest, I think I could probably tell if you were looking at the player log because it would take you forever to go through it to find the right answer.
That's a good point, actually, yeah.
Okay, so which side played a game this weekend and were 100% on the power play?
Oh, come on. 100% on the power play. Hate it when you give me questions like this, Chris.
What?
I said I haven't been
here.
Way,
Elite League, thank you for putting team stats on your website so I don't have to trawl through game sheets anymore.
Who had 100% on the power play?
Yeah, so they played a game, not over the weekend, just one of the games they were 100%.
Oh, just one of the games?
Yeah, just one of the games they were 100%. Not over the weekend.
Okay, so the 2 I'm thinking of, I'm stuck between 2. I'm
Right,
either
what are the
thinking
2?
going Coventry because they scored 8 goals,
Right.
or Cardiff because they're pretty good on the power play. Now, chances
Right.
are
I
they're
wa-
both wrong. So, I'm going to say Sheffield.
You caught me out there. I thought you were going to go with one of those two sides.
Yeah, that's why I thought I'd throw a curveball in there.
Sheffield were 2 for 13 on the power play.
Oh, Sheffield,
weekend.
come on, man.
If I tell you that because this is the easy question, I was almost going to say which side beginning with C had a 100% record.
Was that actually Cardiff or Coventry?
It's Cardiff or Coventry.
Oh, damn it! For God's sake! Ah! Oh, I tried to throw a curveball and shot myself in the face. God damn it.
The correct answer is the Cardiff Devils,
I was going to go Cardiff as well.
who
Because
scored
they were
with
so
their
good.
only power
Oh, damn
last
it.
night against Nottingham.
God's sake. And that's the easy question? Oh.
Oh, I love the fact I was there going, oh, he's going to know it, he's going to know it, he's going to know it. Sheffield! Just like, oh dear, I love this podcast. I can have such a laugh on this podcast. Yeah. Right. Medium question.
Okay, go for it.
Right. Which Elite League netminder? Oh. Now, I'm gonna premise this by saying starting netminder.
Okay.
By which I mean netminder who has played more games than the other ones on his team.
Got it. Okay.
Has the lowest save percentage.
Is that now including Cup?
This is including Challenge Cup, but domestic only. So obviously it includes Belfast and Cardiff, but I've taken the CHL games off.
Okay. Lowest save percentage.
Starting netminder, lowest save percentage.
Now I know if we're talking just league, Shane Owen is up there in terms of like his stats, but they haven't been that good in the Cup
as well.
Yeah. I want to go Bounds, but I'm not sure it's Bounds.
Right. Who are you going for?
Bounds. Let's go Ben Bounds.
Okay. The answer is with a save percentage of 88.06%.
Okay.
In the domestic competitions is number 33, Ben Bounds.
Yes! Finally! I get a medium question. Okay, good. Oh, I was going to go Shane Owen, but then I thought, let's go Bounds, because you said you took out the CHL, and I thought, okay, so apart from when he got smoked by Frölunda twice, Ben Bounds has actually been pretty good, so let's go Bounds.
Okay. Yeah, so with 88.06%, he has the worst save percentage of the starting netminders.
Wow, really?
Hmm?
Oh, I thought you said best save percentage.
No, I said worst. Who has the lowest?
Oh, yeah, you did say that.
Got the right answer with the wrong thinking.
So I heard you say that, and then I immediately wiped it from my brain. And then I went,
I love how you got the right answer to completely the wrong question.
That's why I was like, Shane Owen, he's played pretty well, so it might be him, you know? In conclusion, if you...
Listen to the question.
Yeah, no, I didn't have to, because I got it right. In conclusion, don't listen to the question and just guess.
Right.
Okay, hard question. Here we go.
Which player has the most penalty minutes this season? Again, domestic.
Cup and domestic?
Yeah, domestic. So not international.
Oh, no. That's a difficult one.
Well, I know, that's why it's the hard question.
I don't like you, Chris.
He's not got this, has he, chat, really?
He's what?
So do you really haven't got this?
No, I don't. It's not Farnham.
Or is it?
No, shush. It's not Farnham. It's not Matthew Gagnon. It's not Michael Lidhammer. I'm going to go with.
Shall I get right? So, of all the games that this team has played, this guy has penalties in all but 4.
Wow, really?
So consistently sitting in the box.
At least he's consistent at something, right? Can you give me like another hint? Because I feel like this is a really difficult one.
Okay.
Just to kind of like find a way to like slim down the number of teams to pick from, if that's okay.
Okay, right. It's a team that is what I would call in the Midlands, what you would probably call North, which is basically everyone.
Right, yeah, basically. In the Midlands, okay. So we're talking...
Okay, the team is in Group C of the Challenge Cup.
Okay. So it's definitely somebody from Manchester.
So it's Manchester, Nottingham, Sheffield are your teams.
So it's going to definitely be somebody from Manchester, because the Storm. Now I've got to think of somebody on the Storm.
Yeah, that is
That does help. I really don't know the Manchester Storm roster that well.
I'm really getting to know the players now. We're updating that log every single week.
Yeah, of course. I'm like that with Brits on Bruins.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that it is Dallas Earhart.
Right. Dallas Earhart, the Storm defenseman number 10.
Which isn't right, but it's the only player I can think of that plays for the Storm right now.
He has 32 penalty minutes.
Most of which came from his suspension game, right?
Pretty much, I think, yes.
Yeah,
He does have the most penalty minutes on the Storm. Yeah, 26 penalty minutes against Coventry.
Whew.
He does have the most penalty minutes on the Storm, so well done on that.
Hey.
You are sadly wrong.
It's on the Steelers, isn't it?
It is on the Steelers, yeah.
Oh, is it Connolly?
Yes, it is, yes.
Ah! I see.
67 penalty minutes.
Right, wow. I see
Ready?
one of the guys that does a lot of stuff in the Sheffield Steelers. I'm not going to name him, obviously. I don't want to call him out. I quite like him. He's a nice guy. He tweets every time that Connolly gets a penalty, and he's like, "Oh, another penalty for Connolly! What a surprise!"
Right. So Sheffield have played 17 games.
Right.
And Connolly's penalty minutes are as follows: 4, 29, 2, 2.
What a jump from 4 to 29.
Yeah, 4,
Damn.
29, 2, 2, 0, 4, 6, 0, 4, 2, 4, 4, 0, 0. He did have a clean weekend.
Wow.
2, 2, 2.
I would imagine the clean weekend and Coach Adam Fox was like, "Connolly, just sit on the bench, mate. Like, come on."
Fife away, Dundee away, and they won both of those games.
He spent more time with 2 penalties in the box than he has not. Connolly, well done, mate. I'm impressed. Well done.
So 67 penalty minutes from 17 games.
That is impressive. I want to know the average of that. I'm gonna quickly take a look at the average. 67
just under 4. Because 417
He's
to 68.
He's averaging a double minor every game.
Yeah.
That's so bad. Jeez.
Yeah, because 417 to 68, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. So, that was our Chris's quiz. A very entertaining quiz this time.
I love that. It was so much fun.
Mainly because I threw in a couple of curveballs there and didn't listen to the questions.
I love the fact that you were there just like, Cardiff or Coventry? Cardiff or Coventry? I was like, he's going to get this. He's going to get this. Sheffield! It's like, no.
I thought I'd mix it up a little bit, you know? I mean, Sheffield was right for one of the answers, so, you know.
True.
Not the answer I was looking for. But regardless, I got another 2 points. I'm happy. You know, in a weekend in the Elite League, that's all right.
Yeah, a lucky 2 points because you misheard the question.
So, you don't have to play good, you just have to play smart.
I've got a quiz coming up in a couple of weeks. I might use that. I'm just going to guess and just...
You'll be surprised you might come first. So, let's move on from that very entertaining quiz and move on to our play under review. So, for those of you who don't know, this is where we chat in more detail, have a bit of a debate about something happening in the Elite League, British hockey in general, or the hockey world as a whole. We're staying in the Elite League for this one. And like we mentioned earlier, we're going to hone in on the Nottingham Panthers. Now, for those of you who don't know or didn't hear us mention it earlier, the Nottingham Panthers in the league are currently sitting on 7 points in 10 games. They have a record of 3 wins, 6 regulation losses, and 1 overtime or shootout loss. They have scored 22 goals and allowed 32 goals. And I think it's fair to say that the team is playing absolutely awfully to start this season. I saw that they had lost 7 of their last 8 games. Chris then updated me on that fact to say, I mean, if you want to take it one step further, they've lost 9 of their last 11 games. So they've managed to drop almost 20 points within the last month. We're used to them having a bad month of December. They've kind of decided to do that a couple of months early, which isn't good for Nottingham Panthers fans. They had a ladies' night recently that apparently nobody dressed up for.
There might have been a couple, but let's be honest, if you're going to go to ice hockey, it's not the horse races. You're not going to be in your frock and big hat, are you?
Absolutely. And
it was a nice idea, but...
Yeah, in practice it just doesn't work. Have they done it before?
No, that was the first one.
Well, they're never doing that again. And also, like, I think they saw that they were dropping the prices of the Wednesday game. It was like a $5 or something. And everybody's like, we don't want to pay a $5.
It's 5 for kids and 6 for teens because it's a Challenge Cup game, which people don't go to anyway, because people are not going to the Cup games to A, protest that the Cup is stupid, and B, protest that it's not on the season ticket.
Yep. And C, because the Panthers are playing awfully at the moment.
Yeah, but, well, from the Panthers' point of view, it's half-term week, so they want to try and get families to come along.
Yeah, which I keep forgetting every single time it's a half term now.
I'm out of sync with half terms now. Yeah. Being not in school myself and not having a child in school.
Absolutely.
I don't know when half term is.
You just I kind of leave the house, then I see a lot of young people around. I go, it must be half term.
I drive to work and go, why am I on the A1 and only doing 40? Oh, it must be half term.
So, Chris, you are obviously involved, or you are obviously closer to the Nottingham Panthers than most, and myself included. Yes. Not for as anyone... in like you're behind the scenes, got all the gossip. That's not what I'm saying. You obviously cover them quite a lot with your new job this season. So
so for anyone who doesn't know, without wishing to blow my own trumpet, I work for the BBC. I work for the BBC covering Panthers home matches. So watching the games and doing social media stuff during the game and then interviewing coaches and players afterwards. So I have been to, of the, how many home games have we had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and I've been to 4. So I've seen, other than going away, I've seen pretty much all the Panthers.
Yeah. So that leads me on to my question, Chris.
Yeah.
They've lost 9 of their last 11 games. What the hell is going on?
Yes. Yeah.
You should have all the answers.
Well, I didn't go down to the changing rooms yesterday, stick a microphone in Tim's face and go, Tim, what's going on?
But that's your job, Chris.
Not quite. So it's an interesting one, really. There's 2 sides to the coin, and it seems 2 sides to the fan base as well.
Yes.
There's the side that are going, we're the Panthers, we're not top of the league, we haven't won every single game, why are we not doing this? This is ridiculous. We're the mighty Nottingham Panthers.
Those fans irritate me. Just saying, carry on.
And then there's the other side of the fans that go, we're like just over 20% of the way through the season. It's October. We're still only like 5 points from the top of the table. Calm down.
I mean, so I think there's also another like group of fans. There's like 4 different sets of fans at the moment in the Nottingham Panthers organisation. There's the 2 you mentioned. There's another one going, look, we need to sort this out before it's too late. We're obviously not playing well enough at the moment. Let's fix this before we get too far into the season. And then there's the other fans going, blow the whole thing up. We're awful. We suck again.
Yeah. I mean, Radio Nottingham did an interview with Neil Black um, earlier on in the week. I was on the phone to Neil before I came on here.
Who is the owner of the Nottingham Panthers, I might just add.
Yes, yeah, the owner of the Nottingham Panthers and the Glasgow Clan.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff coming. The stuff that he is in control of, as it was mentioned on the Radio Nottingham interview. He appointed Guy Doucette, and it was
What's Guy Doucette's official title?
he is the director of hockey.
Yeah.
So he is in charge of everything kind of hockey related.
And he was hired at the beginning of this season.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then he is in sole charge of player recruitment.
Right.
And also Tim. So
Yeah.
he appointed Tim. So Neil Black is in charge of things like finances and giving them the budget, and he appointed Guy. But
Right.
other than that, he doesn't get into the everyday stuff.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at recruitment, a lot of people seem to be going, well, that's Guy then. That's where he's coming from.
That's essentially his job.
Yes.
Yep.
Guy was only a couple of boxes along from me on last night. And he was watching, obviously, to see kind of where the improvements were needed. And there were a lot of times. Well, there were quite a few times where I looked across and he kind of had his head in his hands, or he was shaking his head a little bit.
Right.
But what we've got to remember here is that this is Guy's first role in this.
Yeah.
This is Guy's first job in this kind of role. He is building up his network of players. Yes, he's met quite a few from when he was playing around, but he's getting his network of players and scouts and people he trusts from other teams to give references and what have you. And Tim is not a coach with decades of experience either.
Nope.
And this is not a season really where you can expect the Panthers to win absolutely everything. I know Max said it earlier. Where is it there? If an NHL team had to start similar to Nottingham in a rebuild, would there be all this dismay around it?
However, I think that's a fair point, but the Nottingham Panthers shouldn't be in a rebuild. They're not in a rebuild. They're not an NHL franchise. Like, I see where the sentiment is coming from. However, the Nottingham Panthers are a team that have one of the biggest budgets, one of the biggest arenas, and one of the biggest network. No, just hear me out. One of the biggest networks of players and recruitment and contacts in the entire Elite Ice Hockey League. I think that's a fair statement, right?
Well, the only thing I'm going to point on that, the arenas and the fan base, it's the budgets. This isn't the NHL. Nobody knows what the team budgets are.
But it's a lot more than Dundee.
You've got an idea. You've got an idea, but you don't know. I mean, Neil said on the interview that he reckons they're spending the same as Sheffield and Cardiff, roughly, but a lot less than Belfast are.
Right.
Now, obviously, he's saying that kind of a bit, not presumptuous, but he doesn't know what their budgets are.
No.
Nobody knows what everybody else's budget is.
However, okay, let's take that point. Sheffield are in first place. Cardiff are in third. Belfast are in sixth with a couple of games in hand. Nottingham are eighth and looking like they might be out of the playoff berth. Like,
if Manchester win the game in hand, they are.
Absolutely. So I get where you're coming from. Like, but I can understand the fan sentiment. I'm not saying that the season's over. Bearing in mind context for those of you who don't know, Chris and I are Nottingham Panthers fans. So we like to scrutinise this team a lot more than most other teams because we like to criticise, question, like we said earlier. The Nottingham
Praise
Panthers,
where it's due and criticise where it's needed. That's kind of the remit that we've given ourselves.
Absolutely. So the Nottingham Panthers, I'm not the kind of fan that's like they have to win everything every season. I know how competitive the Elite League is. I'm not the kind of fan that's like the season's over, blow the whole thing up. I know it's a very long process. I get the sentiment. I just get the sentiment that it's like, oh, but an NHL franchise, if they're going through a rebuild, it would be fine. the NHL is the highest you can reach. If players aren't happy here, they just leave.
Well, this is the other point. I've got 2 points now. I was going to make one, and then you brought another one up.
Sure.
The first point is there were some fans that booed at the final buzzer yesterday.
Right.
The problem that I had with yesterday's game is that,
which was a 5-3 loss to the Cardiff Devils.
Which was a 5-3 loss to the Cardiff Devils. At one point, we had them by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah.
We were 3-1 up midway through the second period, and we really had the opportunity to kill the game off.
Yeah.
No sooner had we gone 3-1 up, I think within about 50 seconds it was 3-2.
Yeah.
And 19 seconds after that it was 3-all.
Yeah, it happened really quick.
They scored 2 goals in, I think it was something like 24 seconds.
Yeah.
And then in the third period, they scored their 4th and 5th within 63 seconds of each other.
Yep.
And so there were some fans booing, which I think, obviously they're entitled to do. They've paid their money and all the rest of it. That was a bit harsh as far as I'm concerned, because it was a much better performance. You've got to remember this is Cardiff.
Yeah.
Who have won the league about 3 years in a row.
But then again,
I know they lost to Belfast.
It's not as if the game was tied for 59 minutes and then Cardiff got a late goal.
No.
They were up.
As Tim said in my interview with him, Panthers led the weekend for, 110 minutes?
Yeah.
And it was only those final 10 minutes that Cardiff took the lead. The other point I'm going to make is the one that you just said about if players don't like it, they leave.
Yeah.
Now, other than people on uni deals, I think I remember listening on the Cat's Whiskers podcast with Jono, my commentator colleague on the Lions. The last import to stay at the Panthers more than 1 year or 2, if he was on a uni deal, was Brandon Benedict. Well, he was around in the Grand Slam year of 12-13.
Yeah.
So why aren't imports staying in Nottingham? I think this is one of the things is that the core team that Cardiff keep every single year.
Yep.
Look at Martin, Haddad, Bounds. I know he's Brit, but all the rest of it.
Speaking of, was it Joey Martin that's now got the most points in the Elite League era as a Cardiff Devil now?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I realised I'd forgotten that on my notes. So congratulations to him, by the way.
But yeah, Martin, Lingley, Matt Pope, Richardson, Joey Haddad, Gleason Fournier, they all stay.
Matthew Myers.
Yeah, well, again, he's a Brit. But yeah, I know what you're saying. The core. And the Panthers, the Brits stay the same. But the imports just change every single year.
Yep.
Whereas, obviously, I think from a Cardiff point of view, winning trophies and getting into the Champions Hockey League is obviously a big part of that for them. But, Sheffield keep a fair number from what I seem to be able to gather.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah, to an extent. And they're not, they're top of the table.
Yeah.
I think that... they keep their core Brits a lot, don't they? Rather than their imports.
Their core's mainly British players.
Yeah, I think I'm quite. Obviously, I want to see the team win, and my job is, in many ways, easier when the team wins. It's more interesting when you lose. Yeah. I'll be honest about that, because
True.
you get there's more kind of not intense, but questions to ask, and there's more to talk about in a situation like this.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a lot nicer when the team are winning. I know that they were talking again on another podcast about if they had like meetings once a month or something. If there's issues that need addressing, they're going to happen in a situation like this. If you're top of the league and winning every game, they're going to sit down and they're going to go, "Are you happy?" "Well, yeah, we're winning every game." "All right, meeting over."
Yeah.
It's a process. Guy is learning his role. Tim is still learning his role. The players, the recruitment has perhaps not been.
Can I mention something based on them learning their roles?
Yeah.
The Nottingham Panthers shouldn't be hiring somebody that's learning their role. And hear me out here. I have no problem with them hiring Guy Doucette and Tim Wallace. But if the not to say excuse, but if the argument is going to be made, oh, well, they're just learning how to do their role, then hire somebody above them and for them to be an understudy. And then in a couple of years, take over the job. I don't want to sound like one of the crazy fans, and sure, they might not have the budget or the facilities or whatever to be able to accommodate what I'm suggesting. I might be asking too much of an Elite League team, and I am aware that that might be the case. But a team with fans that are so... I'm not going to say they're toxic, but you have to win for those fans. Sheffield are the same. Sheffield are absolutely the same. If these teams start losing, the fans are out for your blood, you know? Because they're two teams that are so used to success. It's kind of... The problem is they've because they were so successful many years ago, the fans have come to expect success every single year. So if you don't provide them with success, they are not happy.
That is the thing. There's a lot of fans who, particularly the younger kind of generation of fans, who, I mean, even personally for me, when I started following the Panthers, Corey Nielsen was already a player coach.
Yeah.
He might have just been in his last year of playing when I started properly following the Panthers. And since then, it's been Challenge Cup, Challenge Cup, Challenge Cup, Challenge Cup, playoffs, Challenge Cup, playoffs, League, playoffs, Challenge Cup, Continental Cup.
Yeah.
It's just been trophy.
Yep.
Not every single season, but pretty much. I mean, there was a time when we called it the Challenge Cup, the Nottingham Panthers Cup, because it was about 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
And 7 years out of 8. So it does take some getting used to. I don't know whether, off the top of my head, I can't remember if it was mentioned or not. I don't think it was. If the employment of Guy Doucette has a little bit of the budget away from players,
perhaps
because it's another wage. I don't know for sure. I can't remember.
I'm just very curious as to why. Unless they've gone, oh, this year's going to be a rebuild year, we're going to take our lumps in the first year, and then for the next 5-10 years we're going to be the Cardiff Devils in terms of like how competitive they are every single year. If they came out and said that, yeah, maybe, but they haven't said that. They've said they're going to compete for trophies like they always do, and they clearly haven't done that yet. I know it's only 10 games into the season, but the Elite League season isn't a long season. It's 60 games, roughly.
Well, it's 54 this year.
54 games. So they're over 20% of the way, almost 20% into the season already. Like I say, it's not time to blow up the whole thing, but I'm just starting to wonder, and this isn't anything against Guy Doucette or Tim Wallace personally. It's nothing against them. I don't mind them. I mean, Tim Wallace has gone from coaching the Milton Keynes Lightning, which was an absolute train wreck when it was in the Elite League, to joining the Panthers, which, to be honest, he's kind of brought some of the losing ways with him, which isn't good. But I just wonder whether hiring these two and going, you're running the ship now, without any sort of guidance from a more experienced head, was the best idea. Because like you said, Neil Black mainly focuses on the business side. He's a businessman. So he focuses on the business side, making sure that the Nottingham Panthers are profitable. You can't fault him for that. That's his role in the organisation.
Of course.
As the owner, he's got to make sure the Panthers are profitable. It's up to Guy and Tim to make sure that the on-ice product is producing and winning trophies. And they're not doing that at the moment. Maybe something happens. Maybe the puck starts bouncing their way in a couple of weeks and they go on like a 15-game winning streak and reach the top of the league, you know? You can never say never in a sport like hockey, especially the Elite League. I mean, just look at Glasgow. Exactly. But I just question whether if this was their plan for it to be kind of like a transition year, they should have come out and said that. What do you notice about the teams? Let's take the NHL example. What do you notice about the teams in the NHL that go, okay, we're stripping down the roster completely. The next few years are going to kind of be tough, but we're stockpiling assets. We're trading away our expiring contracts to competitive teams to get their top prospects. That doesn't work in the Elite League. There's no draft. There's no prospects.
I think I mean, the communication, as I think any Panthers fan will kind of agree, has never been brilliant, particularly in recent years.
No.
That is something they're looking to improve on. I do know that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, let's just look at because I know they got rid of. Well, they parted ways with Jens Jacobs after just one goal
Yeah.
in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 games.
Right.
So I'll just go down the rest of the imports.
Okay.
So we've got Danny Fick, 1 assist from 13.
Right.
So he missed the first 2 games. They played 15.
Okay.
So Danny Fick, defenseman, 1 assist. DeSantis, 2 goals and 5 assists.
Okay.
Then we've got Lacko, who's 2 goals, 1 assist from 15 games. Brett Polini, 6 goals and 3 assists.
So he's playing okay.
Hazeldine with 1 assist and Kelso with 1 goal. Well, they're first year, so that's kind of understandable.
Maybe.
Well, and they're on the 4th line.
True.
William Kvist, 4 goals, 2 assists.
Okay.
Dylan Malmquist, he's played 14 and he's got 4 assists.
Okay.
Golovkov's, we've said, the best player for the Panthers so far in terms of points. That's 2 goals and 8 assists.
Yep.
Mark Matheson, 3 goals and 6 assists.
I think Matheson's been okay, actually. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think he's been too bad.
Tetlow hasn't got any points.
Right.
Brian Connolly, 1 goal and 6 assists.
Okay.
Guy Lepine, 1 assist. Well, he's on that uni deal that ends at the end of this year.
I get he's on the uni deal, but I don't think he should be on the Panthers anymore. I think his best years are behind him. And that's nothing against Guy Lepine. I just don't. I think when he came back, they used the whole like, oh, it's Guy's back. It hasn't worked out. It just hasn't.
Yeah. Sam Hare, 6 goals, 10 assists.
Right.
The best import we've got by quite a way. Ollie Betteridge, 3 goals and 4 assists. He had a really strong start to the season, but he's been pointless now for the last 5 games.
Yeah, but he's been demoted down to like the 3rd or 4th line, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, it keeps kind of swapping, but that's where he was playing on last night anyway.
Right.
John Rowe, 1 goal and 7 assists.
Didn't he miss some time though?
No, John Rowe hasn't missed anything.
Who am I thinking of?
You're thinking of Adam Deutsch.
That's it. Yeah.
He has 2 goals and 2 assists.
Right.
In 12 games, and then Brett Bulmer, who so far has 2 assists
and been suspended
for 3 games. Yeah.
So I would say Bulmer has to go. Like,
well, Bulmer is currently on a -4, 5, 7, 8, 9.
Get rid of him.
-9.
So he's barely scored. He's been suspended twice, and he's a -9. Like, if we're looking at players that are most likely on the chopping block, he's probably up there. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, on the whole, yes, things aren't going well, but I'm not the kind of fan to go, oh, change everything and it's all.
No,
I'm
me
relatively
neither.
relaxed. I can see that there is progression week to week. It's not enough yet, but there is progression week to week. The problem last night was that there were loose pucks in the neutral zone and even in our own zone where we were just too slow to them and we got beat too easily. There were a couple of times when Connolly went in for a hit and ended up getting bounced back, which when you're going in for the hit is not what you want.
No.
When the Cardiff player just stays standing up and you end up on your back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's stuff to work on, of course, but I want to I'm not one to panic yet. I think if we get to, what have we got coming up? We've got Manchester at home on Wednesday in the Cup, then Fife in the league, Coventry away, Dundee, and then both in Manchester. If we get to the Continental Cup, which is in terms of league form, 5 games time, 4 of those are at home.
Okay.
And if we're still in the position where we are, then I'm going to start getting a bit concerned.
Right, okay.
I think. So mid-November. Speaking of the Continental Cup, Group D was this weekend.
Yep.
And the Nottingham Panthers now know the final team in their semi-final group, which is Ferencvárosi from Hungary.
There you
They
go.
join Amiens and Vojens from Denmark, which is where it's being held,
Okay.
which is being played from the 15th to the 17th in Denmark. Panthers face Amiens on November the 15th, the Friday. Then they face Ferencvárosi on the 16th, the Saturday, before facing the hosts on the Sunday. Because it's the semi-final, the top 2 teams go through to the final, which is in mid-January. It's on the 10th, 11th, and 12th of January. And Neil Black says that we can bid for the final, but we aren't going to get it because there's another event on at the arena. If there is another event on at the arena, it's not yet been publicised.
Interesting.
Because according to the arena website, there isn't an event on.
Okay.
So if there is one, it hasn't been advertised.
Or maybe
yet.
they're in discussions about it.
Potentially, yes. But
So, just to round off with the Panthers, before we move across the pond, because I know what time it is.
Yeah, I'm conscious of that.
I'm not the sort of person to say blow the whole thing up, but I am the sort of person to say maybe some changes need to be made. Maybe they don't have to be big changes, but somewhat noticeable changes. For example, getting rid of 1 or 2 players, bringing in 1 or 2 players. Not to completely shake the system up, but to hopefully make an impact change. And I will say this. I would rather prefer that the Panthers start off slow and finish very strong than the other way around.
Yeah, that's true.
So, let's see how they do over the next few weeks, and we'll see if we need to hit the panic button. I think fans are far too quick to jump on the team and say that they need to hit the panic button. We're 10 games into the season, but I would also like to mention, this isn't a rebuild. They're a team competing for championships, like they always do. So they need to find whether it's how Tim Wallace coaches the team, how the captain talks to the team, how they practice, how they skate in the pre-game warm-ups. They need to figure something out to make this team work as a team as opposed to a load of individuals.
Yeah, I mean, and also, from my point of view, I mentioned I'm not going to panic until we get to the Continental Cup.
Yeah.
In that time are the 3 remaining Challenge Cup games against the Storm.
Yeah.
Now, if we slip up against those and lose those and we end up in that play-in fixture, then I'm going to start getting concerned.
Absolutely.
Because even though we're in a group, yes, with Sheffield, who are always strong, and Manchester, who you never know how they're going to be, there's no way the Panthers should be in the play-in for the Challenge Cup quarterfinals.
Yeah, especially a cup that they're so familiar with winning as well.
Yeah.
So, let's move from the Elite League across the pond to the National Hockey League. Yay! So, the National Hockey League...
Toronto!
We've had roughly 8 to 10 games played so far this season, so very similar to the Elite League for most teams. The New York Rangers, one of the only teams that's played only 6 games this season. Still so annoying. So, Chris, hear this out. They played a game on a Sunday. They then didn't have... so their third game was on a Sunday.
Is this your Rangers thing again?
Just hear me out, though. Hear how stupid this is. So,
I know, you've told me.
No, but there's more. Third game on the Sunday. The third game of the season was on a Sunday. They didn't play till next Saturday. They then didn't play till next Friday. And now they've got 5 games in 10 days. Like,
is that something to do with the availability alongside like the Knicks and...
No,
stuff
because
with
they could
the
go play
arena.
away.
Yeah, but that's what you're...
They've got a 5-game homestand at the moment, and the Knicks haven't started playing yet. They start playing this week.
Oh, of course they do. It's the end of October, the basketball, isn't it?
Yeah, so... NHL, you're idiots. Anyway, move on. So, in terms of the standings, I'll just take you through the standings of the NHL at this moment in time on the 21st of October. In first place, we have 3 teams tied with 15 points. The Colorado Avalanche, the Edmonton Oilers of all teams, and the Buffalo Sabres of all teams. Wow. Edmonton and Buffalo currently having a very good start to the season. Colorado does take the number 1 spot because they have played 1 less game. They're the only team remaining in the NHL to have not lost a game in regulation. They lost a game in overtime or a shootout, and they have 7 wins in 8 games. So the Avalanche doing a very good job to start the season. The Washington Capitals take 4th place with 12 points. The Boston Bruins take 5th place with 12. Yeah, Boston. Also with 12 points, we have Anaheim in 6th, Pittsburgh in 7th, who are doing really well despite having loads of injuries, Vegas in 8th, and Carolina in 9th. With 11 points, we have Toronto in 10th and Calgary in 11th. With 10 points, we have Vancouver in 12th, the Islanders in 13th, the Montreal Canadiens in 14th, and the Winnipeg Jets in 15th. The Winnipeg Jets, their recent win against the Oilers, gave their head coach Paul Maurice his 700th coaching win, which I didn't add onto our notes because I only saw it just before we started. So I thought I'd mention it now. There you go. You are welcome. So, with 9 points, we have a few teams. Arizona in 16th, Nashville in 17th, Tampa Bay in 18th, St. Louis in 19th, and Florida in 20th, who have had a pretty rough start to the season, but we're going to talk about them in a little bit more detail later. Then with 8 points, we have Columbus in 21st, 6 points, the San Jose Sharks in 22nd, Detroit in 23rd, the Kings in 24th, and the New Jersey Devils in 25th. Won 2 straight games after losing their first 6 games of the season, so maybe the New Jersey Devils have found a bit of form. With 5 points, we have the Philadelphia Flyers, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars, 2-7-1 in their first 10 games of the season. They have really not had a very good start. In 29th, with 4 points, we have the New York Rangers, only played 6 games. Give us 4 more games.
Rebuild.
We are in a rebuild. And the Minnesota Wild, although David Quinn's coaching, I'm kind of starting to question it a little bit now. 4 points in 8 games, a 2-6-0 record for the Minnesota Wild. Wow. And then in last place, as you would expect, the Ottawa Senators, with a 1-5-1 record for 3 points in 7 games.
I just say, as a Maple Leafs fan, to see Ottawa in 31st is so nice.
If they keep going this way and they keep not selling tickets and Eugene Melnick keeps being an idiot, I would not be surprised if they had to relocate at some point. I don't want them to, but it could happen.
What are they? I know it's really early on.
Yeah.
What are they? So that's 770 is 30. They're on course for about 34 points.
To be fair, they're playing a lot of very young players and journeyman NHL players. So
that is true.
To see them go to the bottom place and hopefully get, I think it's Lafreniere is the name of the top prospect. Wouldn't be surprised if they end up with a lottery pick. One of the couple of high picks. I mean, they got the 4th pick last year. Thanks for that, by the way, Ottawa, for letting us get second. Appreciate that. Kako's only scored 1 goal, but he's looking good. So, let's move on to some of the news. We only take some of the interesting points. Basically, every other podcast in the world looks at the NHL news and all of that stuff. So, let's look at the interesting bits. Let's start with the hot dog man himself, Phil Kessel. He was honoured at the Arizona Coyotes home game recently for reaching 1,000 NHL games played, 1,000 regular season games. Of course, he was traded to the Coyotes during the off-season. He was met by former captain of the Coyotes, Shane Doan. Jeremy Roenick, a former Coyote, sent him a message. He became the 335th player and the 21st active player to skate in 1,000 regular season games. He's in his 14th season, and he, of course, previously played for Toronto, Pittsburgh, and he was originally drafted by the Boston Bruins. So, there you go. Phil Kessel, 1,000 NHL games played. What do you think about that, Chris? 1,000 NHL games.
Impressive. I mean, what's that? 13 years in your 13th year.
Yeah, he's in his 14th season.
Yeah.
Just to give you some stats as well. In those he's now on 1,003 NHL games.
Okay.
He has 359 goals and 468 assists for 827 points.
827 out of 1,000 games is not bad.
For a former 5th overall pick in 2006 by the Boston Bruins, that's pretty good. His highest in a season at the moment is 92 points, which he had with the Penguins 2 seasons ago. And he's gone a point per game at least in 3 seasons. But I was expecting more, but most seasons he scored 70, 80 points. So
yeah,
you can't really ask for too much more. He's got 4 points in 7 games to start the season already. So Phil Kessel's doing a pretty good job. Anything else you want to add on that, Chris?
No, I mean, I as being a Toronto fan, know him most well from there.
Yeah.
He was the one that for some reason, whenever I was playing NHL, I'd always try and make him score. I don't know why. I just liked him.
Well, he's the superstar, right?
Well, yeah. So I always try to make him score. But no, congratulations on 1,000 games. It's a good career. I don't think he's towards the end of it anytime soon as well.
No,
So
he's 32 years old. He's still got plenty left in him. And
he
he's a two-time Stanley Cup champion with the Pittsburgh Penguins also. So
Mm.
he's finally got the silverware that he was looking for in Boston and Toronto. He's got the Stanley Cup on his resume, not once, but twice. There was, of course, a lot of debate and controversy as to whether long-time Penguins forward and future Hall of Famer Evgeny Malkin was a catalyst in Phil Kessel being traded. There was a lot of rumours that they didn't get on very well, so maybe that was part of it, but that doesn't matter. He's had a fantastic career regardless. He wasn't a fan of the
he
Toronto
just doesn't have
media.
the Olympic gold.
Yeah, there you go. So he's getting there. Maybe his years are behind him in terms of international competition. Depends how well he plays over the next few years, I guess. So, next bit of news. Brian Boyle. Some of you, well, most of you should remember Brian Boyle, a solid bottom six player, key penalty killer. He played last season, or he was traded last season to the Nashville Predators. He has returned to the NHL. It took him a little while to decide whether he wanted to sign a contract and come back. He signed a one-year contract with the Florida Panthers yesterday. The 34-year-old forward has 24 points in 73 regular season games last year with Nashville and New Jersey, which is still pretty decent numbers. And he played in 3 playoff games last year. He has played over 700. He's played 766 NHL regular season games and has 216 points, 124 goals and 92 assists. He was a first-round pick by the Los Angeles Kings in 2003, and he's played with the Predators, the Devils, the Maple Leafs, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the New York Rangers, and the Los Angeles Kings. So, there you go. Brian Boyle returns to the NHL, goes to Sunnyside, Florida. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, I think a one-year contract is right for him, particularly since he wants Shaw. I mean, he's been through an awful lot.
Absolutely.
So I don't think anybody in the hockey world has got a bad thing to say about Brian Boyle.
Nope.
And hopefully he'll do well and continue to play for a bit longer. He is only 34.
Yeah.
But he's had a good career. He's he won the Sportsmanship Award, the Bill Maston Trophy, and has been an NCAA champion twice.
Yep.
Was an alternate captain for 3 seasons at Tampa, and hopefully he can have a few more seasons. But fair play to him.
He's the kind of player that you love to have on your team because he is so selfless. He will always put his body on the line to block shots. He'll always be out there in key penalty killing situations. I was a huge fan of him when he was on the Rangers, and to see him go to the likes of Tampa and places like that, just killed you. But fair play to Brian Boyle. Like you said, he's been through a lot, which is why he won the Bill Masterton Trophy, and the fact that he still continued to play while he was going through all of that stuff, fair play to him. So congratulations, Brian Boyle. We then move on to Nico Hischier, the former number 1 overall draft pick in the 2017 NHL entry draft, has signed a 7-year contract extension to remain in New Jersey until the 2027 season? 27-28 season, I believe. He's got an average annual value of $7.25 million. So he is likely going to... he's going to be 27 years old when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So, dependent on how well his career goes, I could imagine he's going to be a very, very sought-after free agent. And he's going to earn himself a massive payday. Depending on how much the cap goes up and how much these superstars are getting paid. So, he could have been a restricted free agent at the end of this season, but he decided to get his contract, lock it up early. He's obviously very happy to be in New Jersey. He's been suffering from an upper body injury recently, but he has 2 assists in 6 games this season so far. He has 101 points in 157 regular season games and 1 assist in 5 playoff games. So they're touting him to be a Patrice Bergeron type of player, which is good. I mean, that's a pretty decent comparison. He's a guy that you kind of forget was a number 1 overall pick. Like, you hear about the McDavids and the Austin Matthews and the Jack Hughes. He's kind of a guy that it's very easy to forget about. But fair play to him. He was number one.
I was going to say I'd forgotten.
Absolutely. And he's a guy very similar to Nolan Patrick, who went number 2 in that draft. Because we've had so many generational players come through as the number 1 or number 2 overall picks, some of these other guys are very much being left out of the radar. But he's almost a point per game in his career. He's scored in 2/3 of his game, 2/3 of the games he's played. So he's a pretty solid player. And I mean, at 20 years old, he's only going to get better. Like, it's not often that a first overall pick goes completely awfully, and I don't think Nico Hischia's going to be one of those guys. So, congratulations to Hischia for getting his first big contract of his career. I would imagine the first of many. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, and like I say, he's one of the more under the radar first overall picks.
Yeah.
I think for him, particularly in this point of the career, only being 20, to have a long contract in one place and know that you're not going to be ferried about here, there, and everywhere, will help him because he will feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
He will get to the point, by the time he gets to the end of the contract and he's 27, like you say, there'll be the big payday, but also between now and then is, for most people, but not all people, the prime time for kind of settling down and starting a family and what have you.
Yeah.
Towards the end of that contract, so he knows he's going to be in one place where he can settle, he know the city, get to know people there, and so I think it will help him both on and off the ice for this long contract.
Absolutely. Essentially, he's got the chance to grow now.
Yes.
He doesn't have to worry about, if I don't play well, then I'm not going to get a contract. He's played well for the team. He's been locked up by the team. So now he can start to focus on some things away from the sport, and maybe in turn that'll help him become better in the sport. So,
yeah,
fair play to Nico Hischia. So, the last thing I want to mention in terms of the NHL, this is just a little note to add to you guys. The Heritage Classic, which takes place either every year or every couple of years. This year is between the Calgary Flames and the Winnipeg Jets. It's taking place later this week. I was considering staying up to watch it later on this week. I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember off the top of my head. But unfortunately, it starts at 2 a.m. English time, so I'm probably not going to stay up and watch it. I'll watch the highlights the next morning. So another outdoor game. Some very beautiful jerseys that the Winnipeg Jets and the Calgary Flames got going. The Jets using their old 80s logo, which fans love, which is great. Get that on a jersey. Get that on the ice once again, and you'll make Winnipeg Jets fans very happy. So just thought I'd mention that the Heritage Classic is taking place this week. So if you want a little dose of outdoor hockey, go and check in on that later on this week. So we've done the NHL news. We've talked about all that. I really want the Rangers to win a few games, but that's not important for the podcast. Let's talk about Brits abroad. Da-da-da-da-da! Brits abroad. Chris, take it away.
Right. We'll start with Liam Kirk. 14 points from 12 games after a goal and 2 assists in the 2 games this weekend. That's 8 plus 6 in total, including the goal that was from behind the net.
Yeah.
So he was behind the red line and fired the puck on net, and it basically hit the back of the netminder and went in.
Yep.
Then we have Tomo and his Schweiniger Wild Wings. He had 1 win, 1 loss this week. They are second bottom of the DEL in Germany. With 11 points. Then we go to Pete Russell, also 1 win and 1 loss this week in the DEL2 with Freiburg. They're now 8th in the table, 1 point behind Corey Nielsen's Lausitzer Future, however you pronounce it. Because of the other players on there, I've actually called it on my notes Corey and Gang.
Okay.
Who are in 5th in the DEL2 on 22 points. It's quite close, that mid-table, because, of course, you get 3 points for the regulation win in the DEL. 2 assists for Hammond and 2 for Farmer. Darcy Murphy as well is in that side, very much an ex-EIHL side.
Oh, is he? I forgot that.
And Hammond still leads the league in assists with 21.
He's had a really good season.
He has, I think, yeah. He's got players that able to put the puck in the net quite easily and
Or
on the end of everything.
yeah, he's got players that he knows how they play, so he knows how best to utilize them as well. So
Yeah.
that's good. I think you should call them Corey and the Nielsen's in future.
Corey and the Nielsen's.
Like one of those awful like 80s band names.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's a little update with the Brits abroad taking their hockey seasons in stride, most of them. Kirky's doing really well. We're super pumped every time Kirky scores a goal. I check Twitter every time I get like an update from Flash Scores that the Pete's have scored. I go immediately to check to see if Kirky's got a point on it. Literally every time. And
Really
most
good
of the time,
goal, Kirky.
Yeah, most of the time he seems to get a goal. So there you go. Let's move on to fantasy hockey now, shall we? Let's take a look at this last week. Let me just cut both of our webcams so I can show you this. Boom! Oh, wonderful! Look at that. This is
I'll
the
be
scoreboard.
honest, without the podcast to remind me, I completely forgot.
Chris.
Hey, I managed to draw.
You
completely
did.
forgetting.
So, these are the results from this last week. The Thrashers managed to beat me, 94 to 79. But I will mention, halfway through the week, for the Monday, I think for the Tuesday and the Wednesday, maybe the Thursday, I can't quite remember, didn't update my squad. And half my roster seems to be made of New York Rangers players, which I completely forgot. And they weren't playing for the
So they
entire
didn't
week.
play.
So, at one point, the Thrashers had 40 points and I had 7. And I managed to take the lead, like, Friday night. So I'm quite glad with the fight back that my fantasy team had. We didn't quite win it. I'm 1-2-0 to start the season. Then the Hamilton Clappers beat the Turku Wildcats 71 to 48. Cardiff Block 13 beat the Trondheim Raiders 76 to 68. The Belfast Sucker Punchers and Chris's Nottingham Lions tied it up very much. Brad Marchand playing very well for you there, Chris. Nice job. Good job.
Yeah.
The Baltimore Flames against the Manchester Swarm, 77 to 65 in favour of Baltimore. Team McCafferty against Max's Nottingham Outlaws, 76 to 74. Ooh, that was very close. Mars Missing Teeth, 126 points on the 67
Yeah, because he's got
points.
Pasternak.
Yeah, there you go. Who was the first star of the week in the NHL this week, I might add. I'm not surprised with how many goals he scored. The Croatian Jets got 67 points. The Seattle Spitfire with the most points this week, 129. John Carlson has like 17 assists already this season, which is incredible. The Newport Netters, 58 points. James Neal, wow, he just keeps scoring goals. It's ridiculous. Stockholm Djurgården against the Missouri Angry Beavers. Stockholm won 90 to 88, so a very close game there. And then the Labrador Boys, I think that's how you pronounce it, and the Ohio Trapezoids, 54 to 41. So yeah, that's what it looks like at the moment. This week's matchup. Let's take a look at what this week is looking like. Then we'll go on to some audience questions. So if you've got any questions for us, stick them in the chat now before we finish.
Get them in now. Yeah, we've got
them
one
in there.
because we haven't got long. We haven't got long, so get them in now.
Absolutely. So I'm up against Cardiff Block 13. The Clappers against the Thrashers, the Wildcards against the Sucker Punchers, the Raiders against the Flames, the Lions against the Swarm, the Jets against the Outlaws, McClafferty against the Netters, the Teeth against Djurgården, the Spitfire against the Labrador Boys, and the Angry Beavers against the Trapezoids. There you go. So that is fantasy. Let me bring up my beautiful face once again. Sure, I'll bring up Chris as
do we
well.
have
Why
to?
not? So, any questions? So, first question up. So, we're in the last call now. Give us some questions. So, Seattle has an NHL team coming. Yes, it does. And Quebec wants one again. They're not getting one. What's your opinion on Quebec getting one in 2026? Quebec aren't going to get one. And here's why the Quebec Nordiques are not going to get an NHL team. They have to compete with the Montreal Canadiens, who are literally an hour or two down the road and are the most successful NHL team in league history. So, they're not going to... All the fans are Canadiens fans anyway, and the Quebec Nordiques, Quebec City is too small of a market. They're not going to appeal to any of the provinces nearby. That's the reason they left in the first place. They relocated to Colorado because there wasn't a big enough market. I mean, they've got an NHL-size arena in Quebec, which the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League team, the Quebec Ramparts, play in at the moment. They've got the facilities there. They could pack out the arena, but they'd have a very similar situation to the Winnipeg Jets, for example. the market isn't big enough. You've got the Maple Leafs, you've got the Canadiens, you've got the Oilers, you've got the Flames. All of those teams have had success in part. Maybe not the Maple Leafs recently, but then they have the excuse of being an Original Six franchise with a lot of history. The Winnipeg Jets, they already relocated once. The Quebec Nordiques, they've relocated once. The Ottawa Senators, they're looking like they could be on the out. The only logical, perhaps, scenario I could see is if Ottawa went to Quebec, but still I don't think that would solve any of the problems that the Ottawa Senators currently have at the moment. So I don't think the Quebec Nordiques are going to get an NHL franchise. I could be wrong, I could be mistaken, I could be proven wrong. That's fine, but I don't think it's going to happen. Chris, do you think that Liam Kirk can keep up his point per game pace?
Yes.
Yeah, you think so?
Yes, I think he can. I think this is, as far as I'm concerned as a Kirk fan, pretty much the dream scenario at the moment.
Yeah.
So he found his feet in the first year,
Yep.
didn't disgrace himself at all.
No.
This year, he's solid, point per game so far, more than a point per game, and I see no reason why he can't keep that up. And then next year, in his final year, when he's got all the experience, more experience than other people on the team, he really knows what he's doing. He'll have that big breakout, 90, 100-point year, and that'll slingshot him forward.
See, because also next year he'll be 20, won't he?
Yeah.
So he'll either play as an overage player in the juniors, or he'll go to the AHL.
Yeah.
So
he's going to move forward,
If
I
he
think.
plays really well this year, we might see him on the Tucson Roadrunners next year, which could be good. Or he might start the year in juniors and they move him up.
And then Peterborough will lose all of the fan base that they've gained, and the Moose will gain it.
Pretty much. But no, Kirky, the only thing we need to be mindful of is whether he has a slump in the middle of the season like he did last year. That's the only thing I'm kind of concerned with.
To be fair, the slump last year came right off the back of injury.
Which is true, yeah. But let's hope he stays healthy. And if he stays healthy, he's playing with some very capable line mates. I don't think it's fair to say that Kirky is only contributing because he's got good line mates. I think it works in both ways. Kirky's playing well and helping his team out. They're helping him out.
He's got 8 goals and 6 assists. It's not like he's only scoring. He's also passing it around.
And it's not like he's only just passing the puck either. Like, it's always the argument that some people make. It's like, oh, well, Jari Curie wouldn't have got so many goals if he wasn't playing with Gretzky. Oh, Nicholas Backstrom wouldn't have so many assists if he wasn't playing with Ovechkin. No, like...
It's rubbish.
And that you could say that the other way. Oh, Ovechkin might not have scored as many goals if he didn't have a guy like Backstrom passing him the puck every game. Oh, Wayne Gretzky might not have broken the record for assists if he didn't have Jari Curie pulling the trigger every time. Like I think you've got to look at it from both sides. Kirky is a capable player in the juniors, and he's playing with very capable players in the juniors, so they're both complementing each other. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
So, on that note, some good questions, by the way. On that note, I think it's time to end this week's episode of the Icing on the Skate podcast. If you guys want to hear some more podcasting stuff from us, go and check out Brits on Bruins. We uploaded our 7th episode yesterday onto the Hockey Podcast Network. We talk all things Boston Bruins on there. We'd love for you guys to check it out. Even if you're not particularly a Bruins fan, just to go and support us because we're great.
It's the same as this podcast, just Boston. We've still got the same banter.
Basically, yeah, and I take the piss out of Chris a little bit. He tries to fight back, which is cute, but it never works. So
I just fight back with the quiz on this one.
That's a fair point. So
That's
like
my
release,
method of
release
my
all
method
of that
fighting
aggression.
back. Yeah, that's my method of fighting back. Is just with questions.
Seeing me dumbfounded. That's fair. I like that. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this podcast. I should have a video going out in the next few days. I just finished writing the next Whatever Happened To. And I've also got a video about the top 10 highest earning KHL players that I'd like to get out at some point, because I found that finding the salaries of the top Russian League players has been quite difficult. There was an article that was written recently that highlighted like the top 52, 53 highest earning players. So I'm going to delve into that a little bit in a video, I think. We'll see if you guys like it. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. We'll see you again next week. Bye.